All right, so the NHL has an award called the Selke Trophy. We've all heard of it, right? It goes to the best defensive forward in the league every year. Barkov won it recently. Patrice Bergeron has won it like 6 times. It is a legitimate and respected award that recognizes forwards who play elite defensive hockey. So the best defensive forwards in the NHL get their own trophy. The really messed up thing here is that the best defensive defensemen in the NHL don't, and they get nothing. And that's why Jaccob Slavin will never win the Norris Trophy because the award system is rigged against him. And I'm going to tell you exactly how. And I know there's somebody, no matter who you root for, on your team that should be competing for this other trophy that doesn't exist. Let me tell you about it. So let's start with the Norris Trophy first because of what it's supposed to be. Professional Hockey Writers Association says it's a player who demonstrates throughout the season the greatest all around play in that position, greatest all around play. That's the language they use. But I need you to look at the recent winners and argue against me. Cale Makar won the Norris Trophy, 92 points. He's elite defensively, definitely. He's also a huge offensive weapon. That gets the headlines. Quinn Hughes won it. Great defensively, also gifted with the puck. Erik Karlsson, 100-point seasons. Really good defensively, big time scorer. The recent Norris winner has been, every single one of them has been like 80 points minimum. The trophy has drifted from rewarding the greatest all around ability to rewarding the best offensive defenseman who's already defensively solid. Because Jaccob Slavin only has 42 points, I'd argue he is the best defenseman when you're talking about defense. But he's never going to compete on that scale. He's not going to because it's not because he can't score. He obviously does, but he plays a completely different way. He is a pure shutdown defenseman, and I think he's the best in the world at it. Now compare that to how the NHL treats defensive forwards, right? They win Selke trophies, and they're not bad choices, but they can be good scorers, but they don't have to be elite scoring machines to win that, right? The Selke recognizes forwards who play defensive hockey at an elite level, whether or not they lead their team or are top scorers in the league. Slavin is the same thing for defensive hockey at an elite level, whether or not he is putting up the big scoring numbers. So Slavin plays the same role for defensemen that the Selke Award winners play for centers. Elite defensive impact for their team, elite matchup discipline, elite positioning, elite reliability, elite ability to stay out of the box. Slavin has 2 trophies, I think, right? Lady Binks, for being a great sportsman. He has 0 trophies for being recognized in this era as who I think is the best defensive defenseman, best defensive player in the NHL. Why? Because that trophy doesn't exist for defensemen. So is he going to go his whole career without getting the recognition he deserves? Here's what makes this even more absurd. There's a name for the trophy. It already exists. Frank Seravalli, big hockey insider. He's very respected. He wrote a couple years ago the Rod Langway Award, best shutdown defenseman in the NHL. Slavin should have already won a few. So Rod Langway, 2-time Norris Trophy winner in the 80s, back when that was awarded for playing pure defensive hockey before it drifted towards offense. Langway would never win a Norris in today's NHL, not with his style of play. It's been basically erased from the award landscape. So the best defensive defenseman in the modern NHL has literally no path to individual recognition for what they do. So that's why the Norris is rigged against Slavin. Can you imagine like a cornerback in the NHL or in the NFL who shuts everyone down, but we're going to pick the guy who has the most interceptions? Doesn't make any sense, even if they're not at the same level of shutdown corner. No, we got to recognize them. I'm not saying that voters don't respect him. He has received Norris votes, but he's not been a finalist. He's never been a Norris finalist because the voters, even the ones who recognize him, reserve the top 3 ballot spots for offensive defensemen, right? And Slavin doesn't play that game. He plays arguably a better one and one of the most important ones that you need on your team to determine if you are going to compete and win Stanley Cups. That's freaking defense. But you can't measure his contribution on the same ballot as Makar's, right? It's the wrong metrics. It's the wrong measurement. different games entirely. Now, I want to be clear. I'm not saying Cale Makar shouldn't win Norris trophies. He's genuinely amazing. I'm saying that there should be two trophies: the Norris for best all-around defenseman and the Langway Award for the best defensive defenseman in the NHL. Because right now, the best defender in the NHL, Jaccob Slavin, doesn't get to complete for trophies. All right. If you're a Caniac like me, hit like and subscribe, and leave in the comments if you got somebody on your team that you think should win the Rod Langway Award. Catch you in the next video.